What is going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Reddit Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-hosts Matt Llewellyn and Mike Andrews of Nothing But Niners. We are back tonight to preview the 49ers Week 3 matchup versus the Los Angeles Rams. We got a great show planned for you guys tonight. Before I toss it over to my guys, if you're tuning in on YouTube, make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you comment your thoughts in the chat. If you're tuning in on X, make sure you hit like and repost the stream. Wherever you're watching, share the stream. It really helps. And comment your thoughts. We want to hear them. Now that I got that out of the way, Matt, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Zach. A lot of things going on this week with the 49ers. A lot of seems like late stuff cropping up on the injury report. This game is honestly, whereas early in the season I was kind of looking forward to it, right? Levi South, all that good stuff. It's now taken on the tone of almost like a walking wounded situation where both teams are just beat up. This is going to be, I think, one of those ugly games that just I don't know how much enjoyment we're going to get out of this one, fellas. I think it's just going to be a rote like slog all the way through. Star players missing on each side. I think that this is going to be more of a defensive struggle that'll be reflected in my final score prediction. But yeah, man, it's just a weird week. Just all the injuries, I think, puts a little bit of a cloud over the proceedings, even though the 49ers will be wearing their home reds in Levi South.
Yeah, definitely. Mike, how you doing tonight?
I am well. I can't wait to break this thing down. I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts with you guys on who I think the most pressure is on our offense and on our defense. This is going to be a very interesting game, like Matt said, but I don't think it's going to be a low-scoring affair by any stretch of the imagination. So it's going to be really interesting to see how we all view it all.
Yeah, agreed. It'll be interesting. I saw somebody share like the graphic, and it's both teams' logos, but they're like wheelchairs, because both of these teams are like hobbled going into this matchup. The Rams, we'll get into the injury report right now, but they are much more injured than the 49ers. Luckily, at least when it comes to star players, luckily for the 49ers, I should say. Not that I want the Rams to be injured, but if it's going to be them or us, I'd rather be them, if I'm being honest. So here we go. Let's pull up this injury report. Obviously, both teams are coming off of losses. The Rams loss was a whole lot worse than the 49ers loss, if I may add. The Niners lost by 6. The Rams lost by like 30, I want to say. So to the Arizona Cardinals. So have the injury report up here for the 49ers. Deebo Samuel is out. We all knew that. He's going to be out at least 1 to 2 weeks with the calf injury. George Kittle, who popped up like yesterday, is now doubtful with a hamstring injury. And Nick Bosa and Charvarius Ward are questionable, with Bosa with a rib and Ward with a hamstring/knee injury, whereas the Rams tight end Davis Allen, back, and Cooper Kupp ankle are both out, and defensive tackle Bobby Brown with an ankle injury, corner Kobe Durant with a toe injury, and kicker Joshua Carty with a groin injury are all questionable. This doesn't include the handful of Rams starters, like two or three of their starting offensive line, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, all these guys that are already on IR. Matt, maybe I'll start with you since this is a medical issue, but the 49ers, we recapped the show on Sunday saying, hey, big thing is no injuries. Well, then Deebo comes out. Then yesterday, Kittle, Bosa, Ward come out with these injuries. What's going on here? The 49ers being dishonest, or is this a soft tissues injury, maybe lag?
I mean, these are things that if they're not horrendous injuries, I mean, the good thing is they're probably not horrendous injuries. If they were horrendous, like the Deebo Samuel calf thing or whatever, he would have felt that right away, and he wouldn't have been able to return to the game. And he did kind of feel something right away, but it wasn't bad enough that he couldn't go back in and play. Probably woke up on Monday with a lot more soreness. You got to sit on the flight. You got to go all the way back to Santa Clara or whatever. And, so you start feeling that. Kittle's, I think he did it in practice this week. Ward, I don't know, but some of these injuries, if they're not really bad, you're not going to feel them right away until you get a day or two of separation and your body gets sore. You're trying to recover. And then what you think is normal soreness just kind of lingers a little longer than you'd expect it to. So the good news is it's not anything super crazy. And I know they're playing it conservative with Deebo, but even on his painfully hard to listen to show. He said 1 to 2 weeks for him. So we'll see. We'll see. The disappointing one is Kittle. I think that's going to make things a little bit harder on. I mean, I guess this is where we get answers about Brock Purdy, though, right?
Yeah.
So,
it is unfortunate. I will say, no hate, but I don't know who saw Deebo Samuel's reoccurring slot on Kay Adams last year and thought that man needs a podcast. That man needs to be seated by himself with a microphone. Because to me, it was always like Deebo is being like kind of the too cool for school, where like, I don't want to be here. I'm answering Kay's questions with like a little bit of swagger so I could be cool. And I don't really care about any of this. Well, that kind of doesn't work when it's your podcast. Like, you're the one who's sitting, your name's on the wall. You're not a guest on someone else's podcast. It's your pod. Even though he wasn't technically the host, there was a woman there that was asking the questions. I apologize, I didn't get her name. But it was
Liv Woods, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that.
Thank you, Liv Woods. Miss Liv Woods was asking the questions, and it was like pulling teeth. And Ayuk, who is the guest, didn't want to be there even more than Kittle, or excuse me, the Deebo didn't want to be there. So that was weird. Mike, what do you make of these injuries?
I don't think that they're necessarily hiding anything. I do think that there is a part of the competitive advantage that they try to hold back a little bit from detailing the severity of it. But if they were trying to hide something, their little mishap with Mason at the end of week 1 is going to put the kibosh on all the hiding the injuries thing. They're not even going to try that anymore. I think that's out and it's over. So they're going to report things right away. But I do think that Kittle may actually suit up for this game. So,
okay. Well, they did rule him as doubtful. Another key mention in the injury section is Mr. Talanoa Hufanga will make his season debut after tearing his ACL. What was it, like week 10, week 11 last year versus Tampa at home? So he is starting, or I don't know if I should say starting. He is playing for the first time since that injury Sunday versus the Rams. And also D Winters is fully healthy and playing this game. He had been on the injury report with an ankle injury, but both Winters and Hufanga fully practiced all week. So they will be additions to this defense, getting healthier. I'm excited to see what they can do out there. Matt, we had talked about this previously. Were you a little surprised that they didn't wait for Hufanga to get back on regular grass, or is that not really a thing if they're just going to be cautious with it?
I mean, listen, if he's healed, he's healed. You know, I would have you want to get your feet wet in game action, maybe on the grass. I think that would be more prudent. But I think that, last week might have tipped their hand a little bit and have them bring Hufanga back. He's probably been ready for a couple of weeks. They were just trying to slow roll it. But with the safety issues last week against Minnesota, I just think that they're like, all right, we would have done it this way, but we need another horse in the stable, so we're gonna just bring him back. So
okay.
If the knee is healed, the knee is healed, and so you don't really. Again, the thing that I always stress is fans will be like, oh, why are you bringing them back on the turf or whatever? It's more of a luxury thing than anything else, right? You don't play football with the idea of, oh, I can't do this because this player is going to get hurt. You can't have that mindset. You can't coach that mindset. If you see that you have a need and that, maybe you feel better with Brown and Hufanga or Odom and Hufanga or whatever the case may be in the secondary, then you bring Hufanga back. Maybe you look at it as on the flip side, the Rams don't have a lot of firepower on their offense right now. Puka Nakua's out. Cooper Kupp is out. They're missing linemen. Stafford's kind of a statue back there. Maybe this is the perfect game to bring back Hufanga so that his job is actually easier because the level of competition isn't there. There's a lot of factors that go into this, but the one thing is, if the team feels he's healthy, if the medical staff has cleared him, then he should be out there playing.
Okay, yeah, very good point. I have a clip here on Hufanga, from Hufanga, I should say, talking about the knowledge he's gained while being out, and particularly from John Lynch. I thought it was interesting, so I want to play it and then get you guys' reactions. This is courtesy of NBC Sports.
John Lynch shared with you, or some of the lessons John Lynch shared with you when you were watching training camp practices?
Well, it's crazy because I remember talking to him last year, and this is before I got hurt.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was my eyes. like how can we detail out my eyes and the way I play? Because he believes in me. He gives me the ability to go out there and play instinctually. And so a lot of it was like, what are we seeing with my eyes when we were back there watching together? You know, because a lot of it, you guys probably saw me out there. I'm standing next to him just asking, and it was like, where are your eyes at on this play? What's this play? What are we doing? And how would you attack it if you were offensive? And I got to go watch some with Kyle, because Kyle even brought me into that. So I even went back and watched practice back right next to him and seeing what they're trying to attack for our defense. And so those are the things that you pick up and you learn and try to put into our game and make our defense the best in the world.
What do you guys take away from that? Was it eye-opening at all? All right, there's another clip that maybe would be a little more eye-opening than that one, but go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, personally, I don't take much away from it. I mean, what is he supposed to say? I didn't learn anything the whole time I've been sitting out, and, you know, John didn't teach me anything and all that. Like, he's got to say something positive. And one thing I will say about Huff is he knows exactly what to say and when to say it, how to say it. You know, he's a very well-spoken young man. He talked about, you know, I normally go out and I work with Troy Polamalu, but I stayed here and I worked and all. I watched this whole thing, and he makes it sound like the communication is going to take a step forward in the secondary. You know, he says Fred has the front seven, and then the guys in the secondary kind of have their own thing. It starts with the safeties, and that those sentiments were reiterated by Tiggs. You know, Jair Brown. And so hearing both of those guys say the same message, I don't know if that's media training and them getting ready to answer those questions versus what's reality. But I think, you know, we'll see how he comes out and performs. One thing I will say is I don't think we take a step back from the safety position. They were pretty lackluster these first two games, so it's going to be a lot hard to get worse. If it is worse, then we might be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, good point. It can't be worse than, and with all due respect to George Odom, can't be worse than George Odom out there. And I think the duo between Brown and Huff will be an improvement. Matt, did you have anything up for that video? If not, I wanted to play another one, but I wanted to get your thoughts first. If so,
I do want to say that the safety play, all in all, was poor, was worse than we're used to against the Vikings. However, if you take away that 97-yard touchdown pass, Sam Darnold only had 171 yards passing, which is not horrendous. It's just, it seemed that the coverage broke down at the worst times, which was third down. And so not being able to get off the field is something that they're going to have to really address. Hufanga being back there, I agree with Mike, is not going to make the safety room worse. This is just, you know, that's how it is. I do think that, like Mike said, Hufanga is a very well-spoken young man, clearly has some media training. They clearly need to put Jordan Mason's locker right next to his, and so he can pick up some pointers with how to talk to media, answer questions, answer the question without actually answering the question. You know what I mean? But Mike, I also want to, just, revisit the fact that, we talked about it, but I got to give you a little bit more, man. Dude, Mason with another great game, and he started. So is he going to start this week, Mike? I don't know.
Who knows? It might be Garindo. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, he better get the start, man. He's definitely earned it. He's doing this thing out there.
Yeah. Did you see somebody said, overestimation season, Jordan Mason is a top 5 running back in the NFL? I was like, come on, stop, man. You gotta need to stop.
I think statistically he is, though.
Statistically, he's second in rushing, but I'm saying, like, from a talent perspective, I would say, like, let's get a little more, because the same people that are like Jordan Mason's a top 5 running back in the NFL, the same people that for 2 years going like Brock Purdy is surrounded with so much good stuff that he needs to prove himself without it. They're saying it about Brock Purdy in this game. So right. I can't give Jordan Mason top 5 if we're not giving Brock Purdy. Like, you can't speak out of both sides of your mouth about different people because you want them to be different things. So
if you're going just based off of stats, Brock Purdy leads the league in passing yards,
yep,
and Mason is second or third in rushing yards. So I mean, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, you got to give, if you're going to give the nod one way or the other, you got to give it both ways.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to give it both ways.
If listen, Mason top 5 running back, then Brock Purdy's the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
If Mason gets a little more media training, he's going to answer his next question with, "Well, I grew up a middle class kid Sorry. I just had to add that in there.
I will say this. I haven't had a chance. If anybody in the chat knows, please tell me how Nick Wright managed to glaze Patrick Mahomes after that god-awful performance where they barely snuck out by the skin of their teeth against the Cincinnati Bengals. How did he glaze that shitty performance?
Did you see
Patrick Mahomes looked terrible?
Did you see the clip of sorry, Mike, real quick? Patrick Mahomes is throwing the pass to a wide open Travis Kelce.
Oh, yeah.
He skips it. And Romo goes,
that's great, so brilliant. Decision. He did it on purpose.
He threw that ball into the dirt on purpose. Just shows the football IQ of Patrick Mahomes.
And this is why, for no reason, for no fault of his own, right? If you just take Patrick Mahomes in a vacuum, yeah, he's got kind of a funny voice, but there's no real reason to hate on the kid, right? Like, he plays football and like it's amazing to watch. But his wife is fucking annoying. The media just gobbles him up. Brother, like, it's just his brother is a fucking idiot.
His dad can't stop driving drunk.
Right, all this stuff, everything surrounding, and then it makes you go like, well, Patrick Mahomes obviously is a great football player, but like if he's surrounded himself with some poor people, and then the NFL is just thrusting it upon you. Then you add Travis Kelce and the Taylor Swift thing, and it's just like, get the Chiefs off my fucking TV. Like, I don't want to see.
And then the ref thing, you add in the refs.
Yeah,
I mean, they arguably could be 0-2 right now.
Yep,
you could argue both of their games, their wins came at the hands of the refs. Mike, I cut you off earlier, please.
No. I was going to say they've done a good job. No, it's cool. I was going to say they've done a good job of hiding his brother since those allegations. I haven't seen much of that kid on the timeline at all. So ever since he tried to like shove his tongue down that girl's throat.
Yeah, he's not dancing on the Sean Taylor tribute patch on the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, jeez, dude.
Well. Okay.
And then, we talk about like, oh, Patrick Mahomes is surrounding himself. Like, it's his wife and his brother. He doesn't have a fucking choice. It's kind of like, it's like, damn, what do I do if I'm Patrick Mahomes?
He could have picked his fucking wife better.
He been down here since high school, to be fair. I mean, he probably didn't think.
That's what I'm saying, man. Listen. That's when you get gifted the Honda Accord and you ride that bitch into the ground, not having driven anything else. And you're like, listen. Fuck a Ferrari. I don't need a Ferrari. I don't need a Corvette. I don't need nothing. This Honda Accord, it fits nicely.
You can get 300,000 miles.
Squealing down the street, you backfiring down the fucking neighborhood. Everybody's like, "What is happening right now?" And you're oblivious to the train wreck. So,
oh my god!
Shout out. I have another video to play.
please do, because it's
we're gonna get in trouble
worse.
Here. All right, this I think will.
By the way, all in good fun. This is all tongue in cheek and all in good fun.
Yes,
just so everybody knows.
Matt's reaction, because Matt specifically has taken a good amount of heat for his Hufanga takes over the past couple of years on this podcast. So let's hear it from Hufanga's mouth himself.
Some of the silver linings maybe that has happened is that being able to go back through your film with a fine-tooth comb.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's actually funny because I look back to my second year, Pro Bowl, All-Pro. But to me, it was like it was really mediocre in a sense, and I really like to look at it that way. And I got to criticize myself to that standard. And so, for myself, I got to be better for this team. I got to be more communicative to everyone. And if I can make a play for Tig, if I can make a play for Demo, guys that are sitting in my locker, like I'll do it. And so I need to put them in the best position to do that. And so that relies on me for sure.
You said mediocre that year. You need just like on a consistency basis from play to play. Like what?
Well, it's just like even the plays that I have made. It's like how can I be better on those? Like why did it take me 3 times to see the same play? Like, and it happens in the league, across the league. I'm not saying I'm the only person, but I like to hold myself to that standard. If I've seen the play twice already, why did it take me the 3rd time to make it? And so you really see it when you go back and look, and it's a copycat league that things that we got beat on in the first 2 games, we're going to see it against the Rams, and things like that. And so that's part of us learning and growing and coming together as a defense to be the best we can.
So during his All-Pro season, we had mentioned, again, Matt had taken the stance that Hufanga had kind of been out of position. Sometimes his instincts burned him and left the 49ers in a poor position, and he got a lot of heat. So with Hufanga himself saying, yes, I was an All-Pro, but it was kind of a mediocre season. Matt, I was just curious to get your thoughts on hearing that from himself, because other than us, I haven't seen too many people talk about that.
Yeah, I'm going to quote Cam Newton, which I don't really do, and it's like, you've been watching film, huh? So that's where I'm at on this. Listen, I watched the games. He got caught with his eyes in the backfield too much, and it cost 49ers on multiple occasions. And, again, the play that I always go back to is Miami, where he bit. And by the way, this is similar to how Justin Jefferson got open this last week, right? The safety, the deep safety, Jair Brown, bit on the dig route and let Justin Jefferson get over the top. Same exact thing with Hufanga, right? I do applaud Hufanga for being self-aware enough to look back at it and be forthcoming with that and say, hey, like this was a mediocre season. And hopefully that's always the sign of somebody who's never happy with the way that they perform. And so those people usually do everything they can to improve. That's what you want to see out of somebody. But, I'm just gonna stand by what I said, and hopefully everybody can kind of understand that I don't just say things to say them. This player is telling you. And it's what Zach saw. It's what I saw. Everybody fell in love with the bulk of the interceptions that he had early, and kind of like, and then some of the plays that he made later. He gets a lot of mileage off the blocked punt. He gets a lot of mileage off of those interceptions, off of some of the tackles. But the fact of the matter is, there were multiple instances where he was just bad in coverage. And so if those things don't improve, you're going to see more of the same. I suspect that they probably will, but he's kind of behind the 8 ball, because my biggest knock on Hufanga is that he's not very athletic for a safety. He's slow for a safety. So his instincts have to be even more on point. His being able to read the field needs to be even more on point than everybody else, because he can't afford. It's a lot like Richard Sherman, right? Where Richard Sherman has to know the defense so well, and where he's playing so well that he can use leverage and angle to get to where he's going, because he's not the athlete, right? He's not super athletic. So we'll see what it is going forward, but I do appreciate that Hufanga can be that self-critical person, and that's a lot of guys on this team. That's Brock Purdy, that's Brandon Ayuk, that's George Kittle, a lot of these guys come out, and that's the culture that this team has, and so it's a good thing to see.
Mike, did you have any thoughts on?
I just want to let you guys know you have not been alone in your criticism of Hufanga.
Good.
That is something that I have done multiple times throughout his career. I said that was the most undeserving All-Pro vote I've ever seen in my entire life. He was just fortunate to have a couple of interceptions on a very winning team that season, and that's why he got that nod. I didn't think that he deserved it. And it's not to say that he can't improve and get better as time goes on, but it was definitely not All-Pro-esque that season, especially given some of the play of the other safeties that year.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Trevon Diggs when he led the league in interceptions, but also led the league in yards given up.
Right.
And it's just like, look, all y'all are attaching this 11 interceptions or whatever it was. It's like he gave up 1,300 yards.
Right.
Even more than that, it's Marcus Peters. I don't know if you guys remember,
yes.
Marcus Peters was infamous for getting all the interceptions and all that shit, but he was a liability in coverage. Yeah. Is an absolute liability in coverage. So it's like
is he even in the league still, Marcus Peters?
I don't think so.
I don't think he's on the team right now. I don't think. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get Huff back Sunday, his first game since tearing his ACL versus the Bucs. So should provide at the very least, a nice spark of energy to this defense that seemed a little flat outside of Fred Warner and Nick Bosa last week.
Put up that the Vernon Freeman comment. If you're playing off instincts, you're going to have to take the good with the bad. You shouldn't be playing off instincts at the safety position. You should be learning the scheme. And here's what I will tell you. I'd rather have somebody that's schematically sound and keeps a player in front of them to allow somebody who is uber athletic, like a Fred Warner, to come out and potentially peanut punch that ball than to give up a 97-yard touchdown to somebody like Justin Jefferson, who everybody in the building knows they want to get that ball deep to him. I would much rather have somebody who's schematically sound and who won't give up those big breaks. And you're not going to get the highs, but you're also not going to get the lows, because if you take the bad and it happens to be in the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship game or something like that, that's when it costs you the most. You don't have to have playmakers in every single area of your defense. What you need to have is a couple of playmakers that are surrounded with fundamentally sound talent that allows the playmakers to make plays when the time is right.
And that was the issue for me with him training with Troy Polamalu, right? Troy Polamalu was given free reign in that Steelers defense. It was like, all right, you're the safety, but he's jumping over the line of scrimmage when they snap the ball because he thought a play was going to go a certain way. It's like cool when it worked, but you aren't as athletic as Troy. You're not Troy. And this isn't that defense. We don't play that same style of play here. And so I think it came down to just too many people in his ear at one time and him trying to please everybody at once. I loved hearing that, hey, I didn't go and train with Troy this offseason the way that I normally would. This was more about me getting back to the basics here with the 49ers. So I like seeing that.
We got a super chat from our guy, Great Fox 198. Just dropping by quickly to show my support. You guys rock. Best 49ers pod. I'll be watching the recording later. Much appreciated, Great Fox 198. You're always coming
Love
through
it.
with
Absolutely.
chats. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Hope you have a great night. Glad
Yeah.
we can provide some entertaining content for you guys.
I'm going to hook up a soundboard because we need to start playing sounds when people make a super chat. Like when we're doing this show together, I have this thing that is on my wish list whatever.
Man,
and it's going to be able to let me play the
effect
sound.
I kind of want to play when we bring up the thing, and it's the on ESPN during the NFL draft when the next pick comes up. It's like
yeah.
I wonder if we can, if it's like short enough clip, if we can use it without. I think it has to be more than like 3 seconds or something like that to get flagged.
I got you. I'll throw it in there. I'll throw it in there. So
cool. What I was gonna say was I would much rather have somebody at safety who people don't necessarily know. The famous story, Deion Sanders didn't recognize who Kevin Byard was, and Kevin Byard was like a Pro Bowl safety, right? You don't necessarily hear about the guys that are doing their job. You hear about the guys that are either flashy or the guys that are real big screw-ups. And so if I don't see your name, like think about guys on this defense that we don't hear in a negative light. Kevin Givens, right? Malik Collins after, right. DFF, Devondre Campbell, we haven't heard that much from, and I'm glad. Like it's
Diamador
Lenore. Exactly. If you're doing your job and you're doing it the right way, you might not necessarily get the all coverage, the recognition, everything else, but you're not going to be that scapegoat either. So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's cool, like how in sync our mindset is for what we want from these guys. Like just do your job. Like don't do too much. Don't go out there trying to overcompensate. And you got to trust the guys all around you. You're a safety. I want people to like realize what their job is. Like you're the last line of defense, and if you're all the way up at the line of scrimmage, you can't be that last line of defense. And the Niners in particular don't have fast safeties.
Nope.
Like they're both slow. You talked about the speed or lack of from Hufanga. Jair Brown is just as slow. He's just as slow. And so
he might be a little bit faster. Like Hufanga was a legit like 4.55 guy in the 40. Like he was slow.
I'll look up what Hufanga's speed is. I mean, not Hufanga. I'll look up what Jair Brown's.
Oh no, Jair Brown was slow too. 4.65. That's real bad.
See. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we don't have that, and those guys can't be the ones taking gambles and taking risks.
Shit.
They have to go out there.
Hufanga was a 4.64. Yeah, they're slow. These are slow safety.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So both of them were 4.6 guys.
How many defensive ends this year ran faster than 4.65? Like a bunch, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, and the league is changing to the point where linemen are coming in with these speeds. Like, you guys got to step it up a little bit, and at the very least, you have to be fundamentally sound. Like, that's where it starts.
Yeah. Let's see. Chop Robinson, who plays for Houston, right? Houston? Where'd Chop Robinson end up going?
Is that where he ended up going?
Maybe.
I got you.
Yeah, where'd Chop Robinson
go? He is on the Dolphins.
Dolphins. Okay, Miami. Ran a 4.48.
Yeah.
That's a defensive end.
That's a problem.
Jared Verse, 4.58.
And then look at Matt Moses' comment. He says Hufanga's speed on Madden is a 90, and it's just wrong. Like, it's just flat out wrong.
His speed in Madden should be like an 82.
Oh, you're being nice. I was going to say a 78, but that's cool. I mean, we're only 4 points. Like, it's fine. Like, you know what I'm saying? But he's not that. He doesn't have that speed. And what happens is when you get a pick six or two in your Pro Bowl season, then people are going to be like, oh, he must be fast. That's not the case at all.
It's just everybody's running one way and you're going the other way. So it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, safety was definitely an issue for this team in the last game against Minnesota. I just, again, what are we supposed to, do with that? Even with it, what do you think? I guess best case scenario, what do you think the right rotation is with the guys? Like, who goes out there together? Who do you play together?
As far as the secondary,
Yeah, safety in particular.
oh, safety. I mean,
Safety,
I'm
'cause
not.
we know Demo and Ward are going to be out there, right? Like, I'd like to see Renardo Green get more slot, like nickel corner spot, but like at the safety position, where do you go? Because it seems like all these guys are slow. Mustafa was a 4.52, so he's blazing compared to those two.
Yeah, but he just has to get the system down, So
Yeah.
we gotta pump the brakes on the expectations for him. I would like to see him get involved a little bit more. I think he's actually more instinctual than I don't want to dump on the other two guys, but he's got more football instincts than at least one of our two starting safeties right now. With that said, though, he might not know the system so much. And so we know the Niners don't like playing guys in the secondary if they're not going to do their jobs. We saw, oh God, what is the guy's name that we were expecting so much of and didn't do it? What's the guy's name? He was the nickel guy. He was a nickel corner last year. And then, God. I am blanking right now.
I'm spacing on it too.
But we were like, why can't he get out there? He had a phenomenal preseason and all that stuff. And then they were like, oh, we're not playing him. It's like
it's not Darrell Luter, is it? Who's the other guy?
No, it's not Luter. What's the other guy that was playing? Oh my God. No, not Oliver. No, not Oliver.
No. It was the one that got picked up from the practice squad. We tried to stash him on the practice squad and he got claimed.
Anyway, my point
Sam
is Womack. Thank you. It's Sam Womack, right? Like it's like he flashed during preseason.
We're getting old, y'all.
Yeah, but because he wasn't fundamentally sound, it was like, we're not putting you out there, right? And I think that Mustafa might be on that brink right now, but he's earning more snaps as the season goes on, and you love to see that already. Week 2, we already saw him increase with the snap count, so that was good. And even Kyle had to address it at the podium.
Same thing.
Yeah, it was a part of the game plan to get him.
Same thing with Ambry Thomas. Ambry Thomas has all of the physical measurables that you would want in a cornerback, but he just doesn't have the instincts for the game. Overly grabby, good for 2 or 3 penalties a game. Gonna get blown by on because he's taking bad angles. Yeah, just not great. It looks like the fastest safety on our team is George Odom, who ran a 4.45 at his pro day.
Right. And then how old is he now? And does he still have the same speed?
He is 31.
Right. So I do want to ask you guys a question, though. Defensively speaking, since we're talking about the defense right now, that's what we're focused on. Who do you guys think the spotlight is on for a good performance? It doesn't have to be a player necessarily, because my answer is not a player. But with the Rams having this beat-up offensive line, no starting wide receivers out there, like it's going to be the wide receiver 3, 4, and 5 coming out to play. Who do you guys think the pressure is on in this game in particular to have a solid game, like someone who needs to have a good game, whether it be play calling or whether it be execution of those plays? Where do you guys think the pressure falls?
I think Nathaniel has it right here. Nick Sorensen, like that's your bread and butter, right? The DBs. You're working with a guy who's like an assistant head coach, so I guess you could put some of that on Brandon Staley, but all the way around, like the 49ers should not give up more than 200 yards passing. Like at all. That you're going up against like borderline NFL, probably should be in the XFL guys, and so there's no reason. So I'm saying like coaches, I'm just gonna say pass defense as a whole, from the coaches to the defensive line to everything. Sean McVay is going to be out there trying to scheme things open in space, but those guys are not going to be the playmakers that you're used to. You need to get on top of everything. I would run a ton of I would put people in people's pocket. Right. Listen, I always talk about Debo can't separate from man. I know that motherfucker from the 7-Eleven who they just brought in to take the place of Cooper Kupp. I know he can't separate. The only thing he can separate is the plastic bags when he's bagging up your shit. You know what I mean? Like, you put them in your pocket and they're going to have to beat you. That's what it's going to have to be. So I'm going to say pass defense altogether. Zach, what do you got?
You're on mute.
You're muted.
Thank you. I kind of want to say Campbell, to be honest with you. D. Winters is coming back. Is there a pressure on Devondre Campbell to have a good game? He didn't look great the past 2 weeks. He looked okay versus the Jets. Last week, he looked kind of slow. He seems like he's always in position to make a play, but he's a step behind. Like, so the play gets made on him. Yeah, he might not give up the big catch and run, but you're still giving up the catch. With the rookie, or not the rookie anymore, with the young player and D Winters coming up and now finally healthy with the ankle injury, if Campbell has a poor performance against a beat-up Rams team, do they look next week to say, okay, maybe we'll start mixing in D Winters a little more alongside Fred Warner? Also, I'm just going to say, Matt, they do have a bunch of bums out there wide receiver, but they also got Tutu Atwell. And Tutu Atwell has diced up this 49ers defense like last year, I think.
With other people to take attention away.
With Puka.
If Tutu Atwell is your number one guy, then you got to take that dude away.
You got to. So they better.
I feel like the 49ers are terrible at taking away other teams' number one option, though.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you guys. Even when the number one option isn't there, we completely just say, oh, well, then the number two guy isn't going to do anything. And those guys end up cooking us. You know, like think about Addison last year against the Vikings when Jefferson wasn't there and he still torched us, right? So it's like we don't even do a good job of like taking away the replacement guy. So that's something that's very, very interesting. I think the pressure is going to be on Kocurek, to be completely honest with you guys. They got a crazy rotation going on over there on the offensive line. And Kocurek is the highest paid position coach in the entire NFL. If this defensive line doesn't do well, I'm gonna be pounding the table even more for my overrated call of Chris Kocurek, right? Like we had 5 sacks last week, and that's cool, but it was overshadowed because it was a loss. But if you come out here and you can get us another 5 sacks, a couple of pressures, 5 or 6 pressures, some tackles for loss, then all of a sudden it's like, all right, you finally did what you were supposed to do out here, right? But Chris Kocurek and this defensive line, they have to step it up in a game where the secondary should go out there and lock people down. The secondary should do that naturally. The defensive line is going to be where the bread and butter is made in this game. I think that goes in the run game, that goes in the passing game. If these guys don't perform well, there's going to be some serious question marks for the 49ers after the season is over.
Against a beat-up Rams offensive line. Mark has a good point here, too. Isaac Yiadom. He had a couple of fumble recoveries last week, and he was in position for a couple plays. But when the Vikings needed to convert, it seems like every pass was on Yiadom. It was like 3rd and 16 or some bullshit like that. And he didn't even have his head towards the ball. He's running with the receiver in front of him, and he gets dotted up 25 yards down the field on 3rd down when the 49ers needed to get off the field. They had just cut it to a 1-score game. So if Yiadom doesn't have a good game, do the 49ers start rotating in Renardo Green even more? John Lynch kind of referred to that, not in relation to Yiadom, but that they do like a lot of Renardo Green and they want to get him more action. He did get a little action last week, it looked like. So we'll see about Yiadom if he's able to keep his job pretty much without any other way to say it. While we're talking about corners, this was from last week, but I don't think we talked about it during the show. So I want to play it and get you guys' reaction here, because I think it's kind of telling, and maybe I'm reading into it a little too much. But this is Mooney Ward after the loss to the Vikings.
On the defense is Fred Warner's.
Fred playing like, Hall of Fame, best in the world, defensive player of the year right now. He our leader, everybody got to try to, pick it up like he doing and follow his lead. But Fred, he playing like the best in the world, which he is.
On the sidelines.
Fred, he always do. Like, he the leader of the team, leader of the defense, what I'm saying? Everybody try to follow him. He gonna play hard every day, practice, walk through, game, whatever it is. Fred gonna, give it his all. So we gotta try to match his, his intensity, his level of play.
That was not the right clip. I'm sorry. I thought that was there's one. Go ahead.
While you look for that, didn't he show up on the injury report a couple of days ago?
He's on it right now. Yeah.
So he's someone else that's like, this is a contract year for him. This is a contract year for Lenore. And I think he's been a little bit of a disappointment as well. I'm not saying that he's a bad player or anything like that, right? But he's got to step it up in this game in particular. Like, if you don't have a good game against 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th options at the wide receiver position, like, I'm going to start going back to what I was saying when we first signed him. It's like this guy has his moments, but we need him to be consistent. We need Mooney Ward to be consistent. We need him to be, not just about how he dresses coming into the games and after the games and all that stuff, right? Cool suit and all that shit, right? But what are you going to do for us on the field? And that's what I need to see. I want to see Ward really live up to the hype and I'm saying hype. You guys got to remember, like, what was he? Undrafted from the Chiefs. He comes here, he gets a nice contract and all that stuff. But this is a contract year. Like, go out there and earn this next contract. Like, I want to see these guys price themselves out of the 49ers grasp. And hopefully he can go out there and do something. And it should start this week. This is when it should happen. The defensive line should be firing on all cylinders, making it easier for the secondary. The only thing that we really have to worry about, and we'll get to this a little bit later, are the screen plays. The Rams are going to run screens, and the Niners suffer against the screens. But aside from that, go out there and lock these guys down. Really put the clamps on these guys, dick to hip, and just be in their pocket and make every single catch contested and make them earn it. Not saying that you got to be perfect, not saying that you can't allow for a catch, but you gotta make them contested and minimize the yards after the catch. Make them pass for every single thing. I want Matt Stafford's arm to be in question after this game is over.
Sin, he is questionable with a knee and hamstring injury. This is the clip that I was looking for. I didn't know there were multiple of him in this avocado green suit going around, but apparently there were. So my apologies. Here we go.
Would you have liked to have been matched up on him more often today?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I play best when I, play best when I follow the best receiver around, but that wasn't the game plan. You know what I mean? When I'm following the best receiver around, I'm always alert. I'm ready for the challenge. But that just wasn't the game plan.
Did they make any adjustments? The coaching staff after that play?
Nah, I stayed on the left side the whole game, but it was kind of like, we gave him that touchdown. It was a great play by him. You know what I'm saying? He showed off his speed. Good job judging the ball, but we didn't make any adjustments after that. It was just like we could have made that play. We were supposed to make that play. You know what I mean? But we just didn't.
Mike, you seem shocked. What's your take on that?
That's a shot at the coaching staff. There's nothing. There's no other way around that, right? Like, that's a shot at the coaching staff. Like, I play best when I get to shadow the wide receiver one in a game, but that wasn't what they called for me. Yeah, that wasn't the game plan. Like, that's a clear shot at the coaching staff. And so it's like this is what I don't get about the 49ers. We've talked about this all off season. We talked about it following the draft and all. You go out and you draft a player who plays left guard or left tackle, and you say, hey, play right guard. You go out and you bring in these free agents who play right tackle, and you say, hey, let's bump you over to left and see how you do, because we want to see how you are. Like, they go out and they get these players and say, let's play you out of position just to see what you can do. Like, what the fuck? What are we trying to prove, and to who are we trying to prove it to? Right? Like, let's go out and get guys that do something and do it well, and then let them excel in that. Right? But it's like, just keep me on the left side. Like, we're not robotic. I'm telling you guys this right now. There are 32 defensive coordinators in the NFL, right? You take away the Niners team, there's 31. And I promise you guys, at least 30 of them would kill for the roster that the 49ers have, so they could come up with exotic things, so they can say, hey, you do this well, you do that well. We're going to take the other 9 players and we'll mix everything else up, but you two do what you do. Right? The Niners have 4 players on defense that should not be used in a just go out there and just do this. Fred Warner, Ward, Lenore, and Bosa. Those guys should be given a little bit more of the freedoms to do what they do well. Those are the guys that we should be saying, hey, this is what you do. Go out there and do it well. And everyone else, we need you guys to be assignment type. Right? But we don't seem to do that. We just say, this is our defense. Right. We're going to run it, and we dare you to beat us. We're not that team. There's too much talent here for us to go out there and say, this is the call, and this is what you do verbatim every single time. Just be robotic. And this was a knock that we had on Kyle with all his different quarterbacks, right? It was like, Kyle, Why are you bringing these guys in if you're not going to play them to their strengths, if you're not going to use them to what they're good at? This is exactly what we're talking about. And so to hear a player be like, yeah, I like doing this, but that wasn't the game plan, so I just got to do whatever they tell me to do, that's disheartening, especially this early in the season. And you've had this guy on the roster for how many years now? Who doesn't know this already?
Yeah.
Who doesn't know this? Why does he have to go out here in week 2 after being here for 3 years already? Like, who doesn't know this already? Why is this a question? Why aren't we doing these things that plays to the strengths of our players, the star players, the big names, the big money guys on the defense? We shouldn't be doing this. Let these guys go out there and shine, and let everyone else be part of the regular play call.
Right.
Like,
let me add on two
outsmarting
things to that
ourselves
real quick. One, where you mentioned Bosa as one of the players where he should be used however the fuck you want to use him and think it's best. I was listening to, was it Peyton and Eli the other night on the Mannycast, I think, and they talked about how Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, they see, oh, this is a rookie making his first start at left guard or right guard. I'm going to line up right there. I don't give a fuck that I'm a DT. I'm going to go line up on the edge because that's where I know I'm going to eat. They never do that with Bosa. They never do that. He's primarily on one side and the other edge rushers on the other side. So I agree with you. Why don't they take advantage of these matchups? They're like, no, we have to play the right way. He is an edge. He will stay on the edge. He is a left edge. Therefore, he is a left edge. It's like, what the fuck? And it makes no sense. And also, it's not like we haven't seen Mooney shadow receivers. That Thursday night game on Thanksgiving last year, he shadowed DK, basically took him out of the game. And afterwards, he said, while they're eating turkey on Seattle's 50-yard line, yeah, John Lynch came to me and asked me to shadow DK. And I told him, I can do that for you, sir. And I did it. Like, he's done it very well. It seems like he shadows DK almost every time the Niners play. So I really don't get why, when you're going up against the number one receiver in the NFL and Justin Jefferson, this was like an afterthought, or it wasn't even like in the game plan to have your best against their best, where instead we saw what Brown and Odom on Jefferson on a key play that ended up, could have been the deciding factor. You pick any one of those one score plays being the deciding factor, but that was one of them. So I don't know. Matt, what are your thoughts on this?
No, I agree with you guys. I think this is a little bit of the downfall of Kyle being a little bit rigid. But I think that a lot of that comes from his dad. Mike Shanahan in Denver, how many 1,000-yard rushers was that system able to churn out? So when you come up underneath, with a guy who's like, and we see it now with Jordan Mason, there are aspects of Kyle Shanahan's offense where it's like, no, you can plug a guy there, they're going to be good. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard to get away from that when you do have guys that aren't performing, or you have guys that, rather than being a performer in the system that you've set forth, are actually able to perform in any system because they're so elite level. And I don't think he knows how to turn these players loose is where I'm at with this, right? Why offensively, why are you not game planning BA every week? BA should be your number one receiving target each and every week. It should be in this order. If everybody was healthy, this should be the order. BA, Kittle, CMC in the passing game. BA, Kittle, CMC. If you're able to get Debo in there every now and again, fine. But in and of itself, if you're talking strictly passing game, you should not be looking Debo's way a lot. I would argue that you might even want to look Juwan Jennings' way more than you look Debo Samuel's way in actual route running. If you want to throw tunnel screens to Debo with a lot of blockers out there and get him in space, you absolutely can do that. But he tailors the offense to get one guy open, and it doesn't seem like it matters who the guy is. It's like, whoever's running this route, that's the one that's getting open. That's going to be your first guy. You should go to that guy. And if it doesn't work out, then you're stuck. And It should be, I'm scheming to get BA open every single fucking play until they shut that down. And if they shut that down, then guess what? They're concentrating too much on that. That means your number 2 is now going to be open. So there is some, I think that, it's a fair criticism of Kyle Shanahan, and it's something that's kind of cropped up, that he is very stubborn in that he believes his own system is better than the sum or the parts of the players that are around them.
Which he's-
And
that
Ian Sharp
comment-
makes a good point. It does make the offense
Yes.
predictable.
Yep.
Matt, just to add on,
And-
he's done it for Julio in Atlanta. He's designed an offense around Julio Jones when he was the OC, and he force-fed Julio the ball. So I don't get why all of a sudden that's like incomprehensible to him.
I mean, 28-3. That's why that game lives in his head. To this day, that game lives in his head.
Yeah, but imagine taking 2 years of success and saying, this one game, I got to throw it all away.
That's
That's
one
fucking
quarter,
crazy.
basically.
Right.
But we
And
know,
by the way,
that's
it
the other
was-
criticism, right? We know that he gets in his own head and outcoaches himself. It's the reason why a good coordinator like a Brian Flores or a Steve Spagnuolo can beat him every single time. I think there was a stat out there that he's like 1-14 against a combination of Flores, Spagnuolo, and one other guy. I can't remember who it was.
Schwartz.
Jim Schwartz.
Jim Schwartz. Yeah.
1-14 against those guys.
Mhm.
There's should be no surprise that style is able to beat him, because he's set in his ways, and then when he thinks that he needs to change things up, he starts to get cute. Like he changes at the exact wrong time, and we've talked about it, right? Like Mason's eating. Why are we coming out throwing 3 straight times? Keep giving Mason the ball until they fucking stop it. It's the same thing in the 2019 Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Why you go away from the run? We've literally won 2 playoff games off the back of this run.
Debo
Off of
was
Raheem Mostert's
unstoppable.
back. Just keep giving him the fucking ball, right?
Yep.
Keep giving Debo Samuel the ball. This is when like peak wide back was like the thing. Like, why are you going away from this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
It's the same reason why they keep getting defensive end talent and not addressing the offensive line. Meanwhile, Jake Brendel's sitting out here with a fucking 29.5 pass block grade on PFF, the worst in the fucking NFL, 34th. There's only 32 starting centers. He's worse than 2 backups. You know,
It's terrible.
This,
Like,
this is going to be
we
the
just
thing
sit
that ends
around-
up getting him out of here.
And we just sit around and we're like, oh, it's okay. And you know what happens after a bad season or half a bad season? Kyle gets an extension. It's like, oh, well, but I believe in you. So I'm going to let football guys do football things. And this is because we beat the shit out of Jed York so long while he was here. It's like, all right, well, let football guys make football decisions. The fact that your GM has to pull the safety over to the side and talk about scheme and play design with him is problematic all in and of itself. I have never heard anyone say that John Lynch is involved in the secondary rooms, that he's sitting in there in those meetings. But I've heard people say John Lynch talks to the safeties. Why? 1 + 1 is not equaling 2.
To be fair, he's a Hall of Fame safety, but I get your point. I get your point.
But it's still not adding up. I get it that you want some critique and criticism and maybe some pointers. That's different. But every single time they talk to Huff, they talk about how John Lynch is telling him and coaching him up and all that stuff. That's not John Lynch's job anymore.
No.
That's not the position that he's in. So you either have guys in a position that you don't trust and you feel like you have to do more and you're trying to overcompensate, which is what we don't want to see, or you just flat out don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like you got to get people in there that you trust.
And what I would say too, there's a reason why the best players make the worst fucking coaches and the worst executives. And John is doing a good job as 49ers GM. I can't take that away from him. It looks like this draft class is going to be really good. XYZ. But like Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player who ever lived. I don't care if you like LeBron. It's MJ. It is what it is. But motherfucker is the worst executive I've ever fucking seen in my life.
Hey, as a Charlotte Hornets fan, I can absolutely agree with you. I remember when it was New Orleans Hornets and Charlotte Hornets and all that stuff, and Jordan was just tearing those teams down. Nothing close to successful. You know, the one time we got an 8 seed, we were out in 4 games. Like, it was just terrible. Like, it's just, dude, this is not your year. Like, you don't know what you're doing.
Terribly.
Just stop it. You got to stop it.
It's because people are so talented and like Tom Brady might make a great analyst once he gets used to like cameras and stuff like that. I would never let Tom Brady coach.
Once he understands how to formulate a sentence.
Tom Brady can do things on a football field that you can't teach somebody else to do. It's just not possible. You either have that innate gift or you don't, right? Michael Jordan cannot teach somebody to play basketball the way Michael Jordan plays basketball from a talent perspective. He could go through the drills. He could tell you what you need to work on. He could do this and that. But at the end of the day, Michael Jordan will get super pissed at that player for not being able to do what he can do, even though he can't explain why.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of like, there's no way that Lynch should be talking to the safeties. Like, you need to talk to the media, and you need to talk to them about contracts and whatever else you need to do, right? You need to go out and get Las Vegas to do a Debo for Devontae Adams trade straight up. Whatever you got to do. You know what I'm saying? So whatever you got to do, man.
Yeah. All right. I thought that clip was very interesting because this all
Yeah.
stemmed from Moody Ward talking about how he plays best. He feels like he plays best. when he
Real quick.
shadows.
We ain't going that far.
Yeah.
It's just that's the one blind spot because the minute that Kyle Shanahan goes, he's going to go to like fucking Tennessee and win a Super Bowl.
Right.
Philadelphia. Listen, Philadelphia gave Andy Reid, I think, like 11 or 12 years before he finally left. And now he's won 3 out of the last 5 Super Bowls. So you got to be careful with that, man. Because my answer to that, if you want Kyle gone, is who you going to get to replace him. And if it's not somebody better, then you're doing it wrong.
Well, I'm not on the.
I know you're not on the fire
yet.
Kyle. Yeah. No. I'm just saying for the comment for Marketing Pro. Like,
yeah,
said,
no,
I see
no.
enough.
And
Kyle has to go. We're not there. We're not even close to there.
Yeah, no. I mean, Super Bowl appearances, NFC Championship appearances, and all that stuff. I'm not ready to get rid of him. It's just like I want to see that he can make the adjustments in the big game. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when I want to know that he can do it. And for anybody holding the NFC Championship game versus the Eagles against Kyle, like that's just asinine.
No, that's
like
crazy.
we were down to Kyle Juszczyk as the fucking quarterback. I mean, we got to.
I think Christian McCaffrey attempted to throw a pass in that game.
He did.
Yeah. So like we have to absolutely stop with that. We can't hold that against him. And I still don't hold the 28-3 against Kyle. That defense just fucking folded down the stretch. You know what I'm saying? So
he's the only OC that gets held accountable for a loss for some reason
in the Super Bowl. Yeah,
his job's put up points. Matt Ryan was balling up until that point. He was the MVP of the league. It's not that unfathomable that he should continue to lean on Matt Ryan to win the game.
Yeah,
but also you think
the
28 points is enough? And what the fuck was that defense doing the entire second half?
Right,
that's
entire
my point.
Fourth quarter, because it was again all the way through the third quarter. At the top of the fourth quarter is when the Patriots started to come back.
Right.
So,
Nate, we're not saying that if the players solicit John for advice that he can't like chat it up. It gets talked about so much that it seems like it's more than just a casual thing. It seems like John makes a point.
Yeah, I hear it too often.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. Like, I have no problem with John dropping in and sharing some knowledge with the guys. Like,
or even a player stopping by his office and being like, hey, man, like, I'm thinking about this and this. That's super casual. But the way that it's come off in numerous interviews makes it seem like John is actually like interjecting himself.
Right. And we could be receiving that wrong, right? Maybe it was just 1 or 2 meetings and they're just reiterating the same story over and over. It's the way that we're receiving that information. It's like, dude, how many times you got to fucking talk to this guy? He's not a coach anymore. He was never a coach. Like, that's not his role here. His role is to acquire talent for this team. And he's been doing a phenomenal job at that. Let's leave it at that. Hire people that you trust to go out there and make the right decisions for your staff. Like that's what it's supposed to be about.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Do you want to just touch on the offense briefly, and then like we're already at an hour, guys, so we want to touch on the offense briefly, we'd like to see, and then do offensive, defensive, MVPs. Yeah.
So obviously the biggest thing is there's no CMC. We know that he's on IR, but there's also no Debo, possibly no Kittle because he is doubtful. This is going to be people keep saying a big test for Purdy. We're really going to see what we can see out of Purdy without the Avengers surrounding him. He still has Ayuk. He still has Trent Williams. He still has Juwan Jennings, like the chat is saying. I'm expecting Purdy to come out there, and I wouldn't necessarily say not miss a beat, but I still expect a good game from Purdy. Again, contract year. Show the 49ers and everybody watching that you are worth it, that you are a top tier quarterback and you can get the job done, even if you don't have a Debo Samuel and or George Kittle, depending on if it's one or just both there in the lineup. Because guess what? Most teams could still operate with Juwan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, Jordan Mason, and a backup tight end. You know, like that's enough for most teams. And Kyle Shanahan calling plays with a 7-day notice, you're not going to have, or 6-day notice, you're not going to have Debo, and at least a 2 to 3 day notice if you're not going to have Kittle. So this isn't like the Green Bay game where Debo gets hurt in like the second drive and Kyle's like, well, fuck. 70% of my plays involved Debo Samuel, so I don't know what I'm going to do now. You have time to plan for it. So I'm expecting Purdy to still come out here and operate.
Yep. Should be a good game to finally see what Jacob Cowing can do a little bit. But I would very much like to see Kyle plan for the offensive line to be dog shit again. So Nathaniel's asking thoughts on Jake Brendel.
That's
Dude,
interesting.
He's not good.
So
he's not good.
I went back and I watched the Rams game 2 or 3 times against the Cardinals. Now, I know they got blown out and all that, but here's what I did notice. They could not generate any kind of pressure if it weren't for 5 linemen, 5 people at the line of scrimmage rushing the passer. They couldn't generate any pressure at all with their 4 guys. I couldn't tell you if the Rams run a 3-4 or a 4-3 because it was just they were mixing it up so much to try to generate pressure. If there's only a 4-man rush, Kyler Murray had all day back there in that pocket.
That's fair.
I think that this should be a big game for Brock Purdy. And I understand, oh, Mike, how can you say something like that without Debo and without CMC and like maybe no George Kittle? Listen, I understand that. But like you guys both just insinuated, right? You've known this for how many days now? You have had time to put this game plan together. Purdy needs to rise to the occasion, show everybody. And look, I put these 2 behind me for a reason. That's Purdy and that's Ayuk. It is time to see these 2 guys step the fuck up, right? There's no more. I don't give a shit what the rest of the season looks like. It's one game at a time right now for me, and this is the game that I need to see these 2 guys in sync, on the same page. Listen, Kyle Shanahan did a KMBR spot, and he said right away, they were like, oh, can you attribute anything that in the first 2 weeks from Brandon Ayuk where it was Tolbert. Tolbert asked the question. In the first 2 weeks, can you see anything that maybe Ayuk is slacking on due to the holdout, due to the negotiations and all that? Kyle straight up said, no, actually, he was open a lot, and we just didn't get the ball to him. Yeah. If that's the case, Purdy, wake the fuck up, read the field, and make the throws. Because after the game was over, during my overreaction show, First Watch Live, I said, I saw Ayuk open a lot, and they just weren't targeting him.
Yep.
These were the same exact complaints we had at the Super Bowl. Enough is enough, dude. If you're going to be the guy that's going to get $65 million fucking dollars a year, show me that you can read the field. I'm not saying that Purdy's a liability. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if there are opportunities for you to take, fucking take them. The play call is the play call, right? I don't care if the play is designed for one guy not named Brandon Ayuk to get open. I don't care if that's the design. Your job is to read the field, read the defense, assess, and make the right throw. If Ayuk is open, get him the fucking ball. And so I need to see these 2 guys rise to the occasion. I don't give a shit if Kittle's out there or not. I need to see these 2 guys get back in that cohesion and work.
I have a sneaking suspicion that if the Rams defensive line is as bad as you say, that I think that Brock Purdy will do just fine finding Brandon Ayuk. I think the problem comes in that, again, we talked about this, right? Kyle being stubborn, this and this and that. And I mentioned this last week. A lot of Kyle's passing concepts take a while to unfold. So if you have a dog shit offensive line like Jake Brendel with his NFL low PFF pass blocking grade, and you can't protect them, and you're going against somebody like a Minnesota, you're going against somebody like Kansas City who does have good pass rush, that's when you're not going to be able to find Brandon Ayuk because you don't have the time to make it through the progression to get there. Now, against somebody who can't rush you, we saw it against the New York Jets, who couldn't really pass rush Purdy. Purdy was able to have all day. And if Brandon Ayuk makes that catch in the end zone, we're not talking about necessarily Brandon Ayuk and Brock Purdy need to get on the same page as much as we are right now because it looks a lot better. So I think that plays a huge role. And so if the Rams are as bad as you say on the defensive line and the pass block actually shows up, Trent Williams remembers that he's Trent Williams again, right? Jake Brendel and Colt McKivitz aren't absolute turnstiles, then I think we do see that. So Zach, why don't you touch on the offense real quick and then we'll do our thing,
Yeah. If Matt LaFleur can go out there and win a fucking game with Malik Willis when everybody in the world knew they were going to run the ball 60 times. Kyle, you have no excuse for injury excuse to lose this game. Malik Willis that had just got there 3 weeks ago, by the way.
Yep.
3 weeks ago on the road. I'm pretty sure they went into Indianapolis and won this game. There's no excuse for Kyle, or an injury, I should say. Injury shouldn't be an excuse for Kyle to not win this game Sunday in Levi's South. So I don't want to hear it. But I do expect Purdy. And by the way, I expect Purdy to use his legs Sunday. I think we're going to see 30 to 40 rushing yards from Brock Purdy. Kyler Murray was all over the Rams defense last Sunday, not only with his legs, but his arm too. I mean, he had 158.3 passer rating he finished the game with. And he also finished
perfect,
the day,
by the way.
Perfect passer rating. It's not here, but I swore he had a good amount of, that's why I'm looking at the receiving yards. He had 5 carries for 59 yards with a long of 26 against the Rams defense. Yeah. They traded away their best linebacker in Ernest Young for whatever reason to Tennessee. So I expect Purdy to have a good day through the air and with his legs, and not necessarily designed runs, but the scrambles. If the offensive line is dog shit as we saw last week in Minnesota, and he's not going to have time, then use your legs. We saw you do it in the playoffs last year, bro. Like, I don't get why that's sometimes like an option for him in his brain, and other times it's not. We would like to see that happen more and more. And stop holding on to the ball. He held on to the ball like an average of 3 seconds Sunday versus the Vikings, when his normal average is like 2.3 seconds. May not seem like much, but in football, it's a
huge difference.
It's a very long time. And Matt, you hit the nail on the head. Kyle Shanahan's passing concepts take a long time to develop. That's also why Purdy's taken 7-step drops like 60% of his passes, because he needs to buy time. He's dropping back 7 steps in hopes that by the time he hits that back foot, his receiver's barely coming out of the break and getting open. So, which I know JT O'Sullivan fucking can't stand, because it leaves Purdy on an island back there, vulnerable, which we've seen actually happen a couple of times, come back to bite the 49ers. So, I want to see Purdy use his legs, and I agree with the chat. I think this is a big Juwan Jennings game. I think he's going to have maybe I'll say my predictions for the end, but I think he'll have a good amount of targets and catches come Sunday. What are you guys looking for? I didn't even know we had that.
Had to be done, baby. You were cooking. You were cooking.
Oh,
thank you.
I like it.
All right. First sack attack there. All right. What are you guys expecting from the defense? Matt, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I expect a much better performance than last week. Again, the Rams are hurting. Offensive line shaky. I'm with Mike. This defense should have 4 or 5 sacks, generating ton of pressures, multiple tackles for loss. I expect them to force a couple turnovers. Matt Stafford's going to look like a bruised turd after this game is done. Like, I saw him in the first game that he played, and like towards the end of the game, like his left arm was all red. You could tell he was beat up. He's going to look real beat up after this. He's not really a running threat. So unless they're getting the ball out quick, he's going to be a statue back there, and I expect the defensive line to tee off. I expect Fred Warner to be absolutely outstanding. That diving tackle he made against the Rams last year lives rent-free in my head forever. Anytime I think about like going to the gym and attacking the gym, like that's what I put in my mind. I'm like, let's go attack this set like Fred Warner attacks offensive players. So I think that the defense is going to be absolutely on fire with the returning Talanoa Hufanga if he returns. And just because they were embarrassed last week by Sam Darnold, they're not going to want to go out like punks. So I think they're going to have a really good game.
Very well said. Mike, what are you looking for? What are you expecting?
I would not be disappointed with a similar, not the same, a similar performance from the defense, right? Give me the sacks, give me the pressures, get off the field on third downs. That's where we need to improve. It's the third down efficiency or lack of for the defense that they need to improve on, right? And don't give up the big play. Safeties be fucking safeties, not linebackers. We don't need you guys to be linebackers. We have the best linebacker in the entire NFL on the field. Fred Warner is playing out of his mind. We saw him. We saw Mooney Ward go out there and say Fred Warner is the defensive player of the year through 2 weeks, right? Like, that's true. And whether it's avocado green, chartreuse green, I don't give a fuck what color you want to call it. Go out there, and when you put that suit on and you talk about Fred Warner, let it be after a dub, right? Go out there and do your job. Stop giving up the big play. Don't let the front seven down. Secondary, don't let the front seven down, right? I need this defense to go out there and be the same way. And like you guys, we alluded to it earlier, right? Find the mismatch and take advantage of it. This is a makeshift offensive line for the fucking Rams. Go out there, find the mismatch, let these guys line up wherever they want to be. I've seen defensive tackles, like I think it was Zach that said it earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chris Jones, Aaron Donald line up over tackles because of the mismatches. This guy's new. This guy's a rookie. This guy only has 30 snaps at this position before. I'm going to go out there and see what he's really built. Like, that's what we need to see. Let Bosa go out there and do his thing. I understand that we went out and we got Leonard Floyd and all that stuff. Like, cool, nice, beautiful. But Nick Bosa is Nick Bosa. He's the highest paid defensive player in the entire NFL for a reason. Show me that. Don't just allocate him to one spot. Go out there and do your thing. And so if the defense is similar, more efficient on third downs, we should get out of this game. I don't think it's going to be as one-sided as what this past game was for the Rams. I don't think that we win by that much, because I do think that they're going to run a lot of screen plays. The Niners' Achilles heel, even when our defense is firing on all cylinders, is the screen pass. I saw them do it a lot against the Cardinals. The Cardinals were ready for it. They didn't care about the screen. They said, we're going to go out there and we're going to just shed blockers. We're going to get to the backfield. And they minimalized what the gains were on the screens. That's not the Niners game. So cool. They're going to convert some on screen plays, but don't let that be the bread and butter. Like, take that away, minimalize it, make them earn every inch. Even if they get it early, the second half, they're going to be like, damn, man, they're hitting us really, really hard on these screen plays. Like, when they do get to us, we're paying for it. Make them think about that shit, you know? Think about back when we had Whitner and the Hawk. What was his last name? Golson, thank you very much, right? Like, you might get a pass completed across the middle, but you're going to pay for it. And then in the third and fourth quarters, here come the alligator arms. You don't want to extend the arms all the way because you know those ribs are exposed to that shot, right? That's what I want to see. Make them pay for it. You got it off early. We kept the game close. This is when we start to walk away. That's what I want to see. The screenplay is going to be huge for them in this game. They're going to use everybody on the field to try to gain every inch of the field, but make them pay for it when they do it. And that's how we're going to win this game. They're all over the place. I like it. Let's go, baby.
Mic drop. By the way, cooked without Mike. Javon Hardgrave got $84 million from the 49ers. Do you think he'll show up? Do you think maybe he decides to play some fucking football?
Man, that piece of film that we saw was really bad.
Yeah, and
I kind of get it. I kind of get it because it's like, where you going on a double team? Like, it's like maybe
you gotta show you're
not harder.
trying, man.
But
that's not fair.
It was a bad look. It was a bad look. It's fun to put in a little clip and criticize. But we'll see how he does.
It's not the first time. That's my problem.
Yeah, I mean, if it turns out to be a Chase Young thing, then it turns out to be a Chase Young thing. I just don't know if I necessarily see it quite like that. But it was a bad piece of film to highlight.
Can I ask you? Let me ask you guys this question. Let me flip it. I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to advocate for Hardgrave, right? If I'm getting 2, what are the other 3 guys doing?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Fucking get home, right? If I'm good enough for them to double me and not Bosa, me and not Floyd, right? Like, go out there and do something then. So I get it. And the effort looked lackluster. He was literally flat-footed. I'm a boxing guy, right? So when you see when you see a boxer standing completely flat-footed, he's for the taking. One good shot will fuck up the equilibrium and he's gonna fall, right? That's how it works in boxing. He was completely flat-footed. He was not in attack mode. He wasn't even in defensive mode. He was just kind of standing there, but there were still 2 guys in front of him. What was everyone else doing? the Niners have to take advantage of those kind of opportunities. If there's a double on this side of the field, the opposite side of the field needs to be eating and needs to be getting home. And that's what we need to see, because we weren't seeing that in this last game. So I'm not going to hold that completely against him. I think Hardgrave has had a good 2 games. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't know what PFF grades are and all that shit. I'm not the X's and O's guys. I'm not the guy that goes back and breaks down film. I'm not the grades guy and all that shit. But I have been content with Hardgrave and Collins. Collins is better, in my opinion. I've seen more from Collins. I like what I'm seeing from Collins. But I have not been disappointed with what I've seen from Hardgrave at all. Yes, there was that one bad play that made its way around social media, but he has not been the reason. He has not been the reason. That's all I'm saying.
I've actually thought he's been more sound in the run game than he was even last year so far.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the big area where I had the huge issue with him last year. So I get what Mike is saying. If he's eating 2 up, then the rest of you guys are one-on-one and you guys need to do something with it. So I totally get it. Get it.
Does it ever bother? Go ahead.
Sorry. I just think that this is another instance of the usual suspects starting a narrative and then circling it around the X sphere, the Twitter sphere, and then it becomes this like running narrative. Okay, I'm gonna put up this video, and then I'm gonna write this article, and then I'm gonna get all my homies to like shout that out into the echo chamber, and then before you know it, Javon Hardgrave is a bum. When it is literally like 1 or 2 bad plays, which everybody has, like, does anyone think Leonard Floyd is a bum? Like, dude got blown up last week on that one play.
He got fucked up.
He got fucked up. But that doesn't mean that he's trash.
Right.
That means on that one play, he got fucked up. And I bet you could find a piece of film where Nick Bosa gets fucked up on a play.
Right. And
everybody.
And TJ Watt gets fucked up on a play.
Trent Williams got fucked up last week.
Come on, man.
Trent Williams
you can name the best of anybody on any team in the league, and there's plays where they didn't have their best snap. Like, come on, guys.
Listen,
so that means that everybody else should be going out there.
Tom Brady got fucked up so bad you can't dive at a quarterback's knees anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there it is. They changed
rules
what
it is.
Exactly.
It is what it is. But I've seen everybody from again, I've seen Michael Jordan got shook by Allen Iverson, crossed up, jumper right in his eye. Is Michael Jordan trash? I've seen LeBron James get broke off. Anybody you can think of, they've been broke off by somebody. And it just happens that, you worry about trends. You worry not individual plays. So I'm going to hold off on Javon Hardgrave. It was a bad look just in that clip. But again, we live in an age where clips have too much power, too much value. They're overvalued. Because like we talked about earlier with the safeties, you can give me a guy that nobody's ever fucking heard of. If he plays his zone and he doesn't let anything behind him and he's fundamentally sound, give me that guy all day. You don't need to know his name. I know his name. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, he shows up on the stat sheet so that Fred can do his fucking job. So
Hardgrave, keep doing your thing, baby. I got you back.
What pisses me off is when the 49ers play the Steelers, when the 49ers play the Chiefs, for some reason, when we double a guy, it's like, good joke. I'm fucking splitting that double team and I'm sacking your quarterback. But when the 49ers get doubled, it's like, well, I'm doubled. What do you want me to do? There's 2 guys in front of me. You expect me to win this? Like, you're getting $80 fucking million. I would like to just see effort.
Do you know what the defense? Do you know what the difference is? Do you know what the difference is, Zach? Other teams have actual NFL offensive lines.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that.
A double team from Minnesota's offensive line is a far cry from a double team from fucking Jake Brendel and fucking Aaron Banks, dude. You know what I'm saying? Or Spencer Burford.
Right.
But even aside from that, right? Like, when did that take place? Right? Was that during their no huddle? Was that during their hurry up drive? Right? Like, the context makes a difference. And that's why I'm saying I'm not down on Hardgrave. Like, there was 2 drives in that game where Minnesota said, oh, we got him in the personnel we want. We're going to run the hurry up. And they did it, and they ran 8, 9 plays on that drive, 10 plays, 11 plays.
And Hardgrave's what, 320?
Come on,
320?
Bro. Like,
that motherfucker's tired after play 3.
Exactly. And so
you run an 11 on play 8. That's the one where he's like, I ain't even fucking running.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna kill him for that. And that's what I think, that context makes a difference. But clips don't show context. Stats
No.
don't show context.
Mm-mm.
Hardgrave has had a really, really good season. He's playing much better than what he's been playing for the 49ers. This is the best version of Hardgrave that we have seen. He has been disruptive. He is getting through the line early and often. So I'm not going to kill him just yet. I'm not there with everybody else.
Okay. Well, let's get into our predictions and then
Yep.
we'll wrap up the show. We'll start, Mike, since you're on the big screen. Let's do offensive player of the game.
All right. My offensive player of the game is going to go to Brock Purdy. I know this is low-hanging fruit, and you guys know I hate taking the low-hanging fruit. But this is the Avenger-less game for Brock Purdy. If Kittle is out there, he's going to be a shell of himself, right? Brandon Ayuk, through 2 games, has been a shell of himself as far as production. You don't have Christian McCaffrey. You don't have Deebo Samuel out there. You are working with, I'm going to call it a makeshift line because, I don't know what's going to happen with Banks. I don't know who's going to be playing at left guard. Trent Williams is a shell of himself also, self-admitted, not Mike's words like this. Trent is saying, I got to get better, blah, 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 blah. Pooney, rookie out there on the offensive line, and then we know what's going on with Jake Brindle and Colton McKivitz, right? So the offensive line is what it is. Brock Purdy needs to be the most efficient version of Brock Purdy in this game, and I think he is not going to disappoint. I think Brock Purdy comes out. This is the most important game of his career, not the Super Bowl, even though it would have been nice if we won it, right? But not the Super Bowl. This one right here. This is the tone setter. You don't want to fall to 1-2 because if we fall to 1-2, that means the Rams are also 1-2, and that means the Cardinals or Seahawks. It's going to be a 3-way tie at 1-2 if we fall here. That's my point. And we don't want to do that. We have a very good opportunity here to go 2-1, be tied for first place. That's what we need to do. And we are going up against a very, very desperate Rams team. They don't want to fall to 0-3. If they fall to 0-3, they are packing it up. I'm telling you guys right now, they're going to pack it up. With that said, we have to make sure that they don't get this one win against us. We have to go out there and get it, and it's going to be all on Brock Purdy's shoulders. And that goes with execution of the plays that are called, audibles at the offensive line. We all know that they call 2 or 3 plays, and then they go out there, he reads it, the linemen give him what the protections are. He has the right to kill the play, call the other play, the alternate play, and all that. He needs to be on his P's and Q's mentally. This is going to be a mental game as well as a physical game. I want to see the 49ers moving the offensive line, get Brock Purdy on the move, get back to the play-action game. I didn't see any play-action calls last game at all. I don't know where the fuck they went. I don't know where they went, right? Get back to who we are, get back to what makes us special, and then we will be just fine. Brock Purdy, you have to step up for the 49ers. Show us why you're supposed to get this big paycheck following this offseason.
Very well said. Matt, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to join Mike on this one. It's Brock Purdy. I think that he's going to have himself a really good game, up over 300 yards passing. I know just for the sake of being different, I think I'm going to add in that he's going to get a deep one to Jacob Cowing in this game. And he has a chance to silence the remaining haters. If Brock Purdy makes it through this stretch of I'm already convinced. I think Brock Purdy's a dude, right? But if he makes it through this stretch with no Deebo, with no Christian McCaffrey, with George Kittle ailing, and he comes out of it looking good, then there's nothing else to say. There's really nothing else to say. Then you have to give Brock Purdy his flowers. You have to admit that he is a driving force in this offense as much as the other guys are, and that it's a collective that makes the 49ers so daunting on that offensive side that can overcome some of these offensive line problems that they've been having. But he needs to get out there and do it. Be decisive. I think we should have included in when he said in the offseason, I need to look to check down and stuff like that. I think that was the first time that I saw him start to second guess himself. And that's kind of shown up in some of the games where he's kind of second guessed decisions. I'd like to see him get back to getting out there and being a little bit of that gunslinger that he has been before. So, Brock Purdy, I think I'm going to say 325 yards, 2 touchdown passes in this game.
Damn. All right. For me, I'm going to go with Ayuk. I think this is the week Ayuk gets it together. I think Ayuk definitely, somebody put it in the chat here, said, Boats, he has no choice but to have a great game with everyone out. believe it or not, he does have a choice, and it very well could be someone else like JJ or Cowing, like Matt said. But I think Ayuk's going to have like 7 receptions for 150 yards and a touchdown. I think he's going to go off. I think Purdy's finally going to realize, all right, I need to focus on getting BA involved more so in this offense early and often. So I go Brandon Ayuk, 7 for 150 and a touchdown. I think we got Mike back here. Yep. Mike, who do you got for your defensive player of the game?
Defensive player of the game. Wow, I'm going to surprise you guys. I'm going to go with Charvarius Ward. I'm going to go with Mooney. This is probably the only time.
You think he's going to play?
I do. Not only do I think he's going to play, I think he's going to have a really, really good game. This is kind of the get right moment for him, where no one's expecting anything of him. You're on the injury report. We're playing up against a bunch of bums, but this is also the perfect time for him to go out there and show why the Niners had faith in him coming from Kansas City in the first place. So I'm going to go with Charvarius Ward. I'm going to go with 4 PBUs, 1 interception. I'm not going to call any touchdowns or anything like that, but I think he has a hell of a game, and this is his opportunity right here. You're going up against a bunch of guys that are going to try to make names for themselves. That's what's happening right now, right? There is no Cooper Kupp. There is no Puka Nacua. These guys are going to be all the wide receivers. Tutu Atwell, Robinson. I think his first name starts with a
DeMarcus.
C or a D. DeMarcus. Yeah, DeMarcus. There you go. These guys are going to go out there and try to say, hey, like, they trust us. And Matt Stafford is a thrower of the ball. That's his game. Different arm angles and all that stuff. He's going to get these guys the ball, minimalize those gains, and I think Charvarius Ward goes out and earns it and shows everybody why you can't just put him up against any old regular Joe. He's going to show it.
I love it. Matt, what do you got?
Listen, you already know what it is. Nick Bosa, 3 sacks and a forced fumble. But shout outs, like, I got to keep that going. But in all actuality, like, I got to shout out Fred Warner, man. That dude is a fucking beast. He's legitimately the best player on the 49ers. I don't think there's any question. And we all know what he did last year against the Rams. I mean, we know what he's doing this season. I think Fred Warner keeps that going. So Nick Bosa, 3 sacks and a forced fumble. Fred Warner, a pick and another fumble recovery. He had the trifecta last week: the sack, the fumble recovery, the forced fumble, the interception. I think he's going to be right back there again. So I didn't mean to take 2, but I had to. Fred is too good to just let me do the same thing over and over. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, Bosa was a sack and a forced fumble away from his stat line last week.
Yeah, he was.
2 sacks.
He was.
Had 2 sacks.
I have a question for you guys. Zach, did you give yours?
No, let me go real quick and then you.
Yeah.
For me, aside from Fred, I think Fred gets a pick 6, but that's too easy for all of us. I'm going to go Diamador Lenore. Last year, if you guys remember the week 2, I think, matchup in LA, the Rams were down, I want to say 20-24, and they had the ball with like 3 minutes left driving. And who else but Demo picks Matt Stafford and ends that game for the 49ers with the win. So I'm going to go Demo, emerging star for the 49ers. I'm really excited to see what he's got. I don't know if he necessarily gets a pick. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he doesn't get thrown that. So if so, not much. So I'm gonna go Demo. Mike, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you guys this question. So often everyone holds the Avengers tag against Brock Purdy. If the 49ers are the Avengers, their offense, what character to you guys, to you guys, is Brock Purdy? Is he Captain America, who's not the strongest or the fastest, but the technically guy? Like, let me get the game plan together. Is he the Doctor Strange, who I've seen the future, I know where we're going, but we got to do this the right way in order to get there? Or is he like Incredible Hulk? Is he Iron Man, who has a sacrifice myself so that we can be great? How do you guys see Brock Purdy in terms of Avengers? I would love to hear this from you guys, and I have no more questions tonight.
This is a tough one because it's like I view him as like the personality of a Captain America, like that damn good boy's just, not going to curse or not going to do anything. But I kind of agree with the chat. It's like he's like Hawkeye. It's like you haven't really had to do much at this point, right? Like he's in there shooting bows and arrows while other people have like superpowers and somebody's using like their mind to make magic come out of their face and obliterate people into 1,000 pieces. He's like Hawkeye with the personality of Captain America. So I don't know if that's cheating for an answer, Matt.
All right, I'm gonna catch it for this one, but he's the unofficial leader, right? Everybody thinks that Iron Man and Captain America are the leader of the Avengers, and because they Tony Stark is crazy and eccentric, and he comes up with all this stuff. Like Tony Stark, that's George Kittle to me. George Kittle is Iron Man to me, right? Captain America for me is more like BA, unassuming personality, but like gets the job done, very, very secure in that. Deebo Samuel is more like, I would say, Ant-Man. Sometimes he shows up
on
big.
The edge of my seat.
Sometimes he shows up big. Sometimes he shows up real small. To me, Doctor Strange is more like Christian McCaffrey because he's just like a freak, right? He gets everything. He's the ultimate player. Like, you don't know if he's coming left or right. He seems to see the field in a crazy way. But to me, Brock Purdy is Black Widow, the actual leader of the Avengers. If you look at it, Black Widow in that Natasha Romanoff is in every single movie. She's kicking ass. She has no superpowers whatsoever, but she's the emotional heart of the team. And she might not be the biggest or the strongest, but she gets hers. She gets her shine. She knows where to go with everything. She knows what to do. She's the front facing of the organization. So for me, Black Widow, and don't read into the little gender swap or whatever, but character wise,
but she manipulates everyone to do their job.
And she was the one that showed up to the Senate and took responsibility, which is what Brock Purdy does at that podium every week. When he's not getting it done, he doesn't throw anybody under the bus like a Shedeur Sanders. He goes out there and he takes blame for himself.
Yeah.
Wow.
By the way, if the 49ers are the Avengers, then this game is like one of the side missions that like 3 of them go off on. The rest of them are back home at the base. This is like when Hawkeye and Black Widow go up on that hill or that mountain, and unfortunately Black Widow ends up sacrificing herself. But it's like when they all split off to go do different things. Like this is like one of those side quests in one of the movies where half of the team isn't there.
The Deadpool movie was like, these are the guys that we got from the Avengers. Like, that's it. Like, just these guys right here. Okay. I like it, man. That's really cool.
Yeah. Matt, Nathaniel's asking who is
listen, Fred Warner, because he never misses that peanut punch, man. Like, he finds that ball with that right hand. He punches it out every time. Fred don't miss. Yep. Fred don't miss. Bosa, the Incredible Hulk. Absolutely. Yeah. Bro, Hulk smash.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
Great question. I got that right behind me. Yeah. All right. Final score predictions. Matt, so you're on the big screen. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to say that the 49ers take this one. I'm going to say 23-16. Purdy with 2 touchdown passes. I think that with the lack of the usual suspects, where the 49ers offense will start to crawl a little bit is in those red zone areas where the field gets shorter and you need people to make more of a difference. I think when you sacrifice Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, because I don't think Kittle's going to play, for Juwan Jennings, Jacob Cowing, and Eric Saubert, I don't know that you get the same level that you would get before. So I think Jake Moody's going to have another busy day. 23-16. Brock Purdy, like I said, 2 touchdown passes, 1 to Ayuk, 1 to Cowing on a deep shot.
Okay, Mike, what do you got?
I'm going to go with a very strange score, 29-13. I have no idea how the Niners get 29 points, but that's what I'm feeling. I'm going to ride with it, 29-13. I think that we keep this Rams offense relatively in check. They might get a late touchdown later on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be one of those weird things where they get 7 out of it down at the end, but 29-13. I'm going. 2
touchdowns, 5 field goals. That's how you get to 29.
Is that how you do it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of field goals. Wow.
I mean,
right,
hey,
I'm with that.
He had 6 in week 1, right?
Yeah, let's get it. Yeah, I like it.
Okay. For me, I had something similar to Matt. I had 27-13. So nothing too crazy. Not some scoregami candidate like you guys have out there. But
all three of us think the Rams are going to get 13, though.
Mike had
Did we
9.
all put 13?
Oh no, I put 16. I put 16. Never mind.
Okay.
I said 26-16 or something like that.
Yeah.
31.
But close.
If we put up 30 points without these guys playing, Ian, the Niners are the most dangerous team in the NFL.
Yeah.
If we put up 30 plus points without Debo, without Christian McCaffrey, without Kittle, or Kittle in a limited form, because I do think Kittle plays, but I don't think that Kittle's a part of the offensive focus point or focal point. We are the most dangerous team in the NFL. And that's saying something in week 3. So I like that.
Okay.
I like it.
Guys, make sure to comment your final score predictions in the chat. If you're watching this after, comment them in the comments. If you're watching this on X, reply with your final score prediction. If you get it right, we'll send you something. Mike, I'm sure the folks already know, but please let them know where to find you in case they don't.
Yeah, so this is my X handle right here. I am working on saying X and not the other word, but make sure you guys give me a follow over there. I am at Mike Andrews 83. But for those of you who are looking for the extra content, the real content where I can just release and not worry about Niners brass saying, hey, don't say that or do say this or whatever, patreon.com/NB9ERS. That is the place to be where I can speak freely and not give a fuck about who is watching. All right. Patreon.com/NB9ERS.
All right. Go follow that. Go subscribe to the Patreon, guys. We appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight as we preview the 49ers Week 3 matchup versus the Los Angeles Rams. Without further ado, Matt, please take us home.
Absolutely. Back on the West Coast, back to our home away from home. This is like a extra home game for us. I think Vivid predicted it's going to be about 65% 49ers fans. The red jerseys will be out. Look for a good game. Back at our normal 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time slot. Man, 49ers need a get-right game because I believe after that they go back home and host New England, right?
Yep.
So real opportunity to be 3-1 after 4 weeks, which I don't think anybody would complain about. Let's wash our hands of that ugly Minnesota loss and go from there. So thank you guys as always for joining us here tonight. I know Mike, I know Zach, we all appreciate it. So for those guys, for myself, we appreciate having you here each and every week. And until next time, go Niners.